It was supposed to be a routine session in Parliament, a day like any other filled with speeches, debates, and the usual tug-of-war that has become so familiar in South African politics. The agenda was expected to follow its predictable course: lengthy statements, party-line explanations, and mundane sparring across the benches. But what unfolded that day stunned even the most seasoned political commentators, reporters, and viewers watching at home. Gayton McKenzie, the fiery leader of the Patriotic Alliance, stood up and sent Parliament into complete chaos. With unflinching resolve, McKenzie issued a scathing challenge to the political establishment. He called for nothing less than the immediate arrest of President Cyril Ramaphosa. There was no hesitation in his tone, no effort to soften the blow, no diplomatic cushion. He went directly for the jugular. McKenzie accused Ramaphosa of failing the country, betraying public trust, and engaging in conduct that, in his view, should see him not only removed from office but prosecuted and jailed. The charges landed like a thunderclap, reverberating across the chamber. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Everyone present seemed to freeze, struggling to process the gravity of Mackenzie's words. Then the uproar began. The chamber erupted into chaos. Boos, cheers, insults, and heated exchanges filled the air. Some members clapped their desks in approval, while others shouted him down in outrage. The eruption spilled into one of the most dramatic parliamentary moments in years. In a scene that would be replayed endlessly on television and social media, a delegation of MPs staged a dramatic walkout. They stood in front of the cameras and made their way out, their footsteps echoing across the floor as Speaker Nosivai Mapisa-Nkakula fought to restore order. Some MPs left in solidarity with McKenzie, voicing their belief that the time for polite commissions and endless inquiries was over. Others stormed out in protest, condemning McKenzie's attack as reckless showboating and an affront to the dignity of the presidency. The sight of legislators parading out captured a stark image. The ANC's once-iron grip on Parliament looked vulnerable. Gayton McKenzie is no stranger to controversy. With his biting rhetoric and bold confrontations, he has built a political career on defying the establishment. But this time, he went further than ever before. The stakes were higher, the timing more sensitive, and the bluntness of his language set this moment apart. He accused Ramaphosa of hiding behind the ANC's political machinery, of turning the state into a shield for personal security, and of presiding over a nation that had become, in his words, a playground for the elite while ordinary citizens suffered. Mackenzie's demand was not for another commission, not for another committee, not for more promises destined to gather dust on government shelves. He demanded accountability, real accountability. He spoke directly to the frustrations of millions of South Africans who have grown weary of endless rhetoric and hollow assurances. If ordinary citizens can be arrested for breaking the law, McKenzie thundered, why should the president be above it? Those words did not stay confined within the walls of Parliament. They spread like wildfire, quoted on radio talk shows, dissected on television panels, debated across social media, and echoed in conversations in homes nationwide. The ANC, already weakened by years of internal battles, corruption scandals, and factional warfare, suddenly faced one of its gravest challenges. The walkout was not just theatrics. It was evidence of how fractured and unsettled the political landscape had become. Once seen as unassailable, the ruling party was now under siege from both the opposition and its own internal cracks, with a restless public demanding answers. Equally remarkable was President Ramaphosa's silence. As McKenzie called for his arrest and MPs stormed out, the president did not offer a forceful public response. For some, that silence reflected steady leadership, a refusal to dignify what they viewed as a publicity stunt. To others, however, the silence symbolized indecisiveness and weakness, a leader unable or unwilling to confront a storm head-on. The longer Ramaphosa remained quiet, the more speculation grew that his grip on power was slipping. Opposition parties, unsurprisingly, wasted no time capitalizing on the uproar. Leaders who normally clashed bitterly on policy found common ground in attacking the ANC. McKenzie's call for accountability became a rallying cry that transcended party lines. Even rivals who rarely agreed found unity in condemning Ramaphosa's leadership. The uproar in Parliament exposed grievances that have long been simmering across South Africa. Economic inequality remains stark, service delivery failures plague communities, and corruption scandals never seem to end. To many citizens, McKenzie's speech was not just political theater. It was a reflection of their own anger and disillusionment. South Africa now stands at a crossroads. What unfolded in Parliament was more than another shouting match between politicians. It was a watershed moment, a sign that the old order is being challenged as never before. It revealed the cracks within the ANC's once unshakable dominance and signaled a growing demand for accountability at the very highest levels of government. McKenzie's call for Ramaphosa's arrest may seem extreme to some, but to others, it rang with truth. It forced the nation to confront uncomfortable questions. How much corruption and failure can be tolerated before action is taken? How long can politicians hide behind party loyalty and procedural stalling? And most importantly, who really holds power in a democracy, the politicians or the people? This confrontation has already etched itself into the annals of South African politics. It will be remembered as a test of the country's democracy, its institutions, and its leaders. Gayton McKenzie may not succeed in bringing down the president, but he has thrown down a gauntlet that cannot be ignored. South Africans are now watching more closely than ever, waiting to see whether their leaders will choose accountability, or cling to the same cycle of denial and delay.